A very good afternoon, and I would like to thank you all for joining us today. I am Priyadarshini from the Zoho Books team, and in today's session, we shall understand about project accounting and how efficiently it can be done with Zoho Books. So, what is project accounting? Before that, let me run you through the agenda for the day. So, we shall understand about what is project accounting and what are the benefits of project accounting. Then, we shall dive deep into the time tracking module available in Zoho Books, how this can help you achieve project accounting within Zoho Books, and we also will discuss about the time entries. So one other feature of the time tracking module is the recording of timesheets. We will dive deep into it. And then we will move upon another feature called approvals, wherein you can get your timesheet entries approved internally or from the customer itself. Then we shall move into the second part of our webinar, wherein we will discuss about Zoho projects integration with Zoho Books. So how do we integrate the application of Zoho projects to handle the project accounting efficiently in Zoho Books? And then we will discuss upon some of the reports which are available for the module. So what is project accounting? Project accounting focuses on the financial transactions related to managing a project, including their costs, billing, and revenue. Now you might wonder, what is the difference between the standard accounting and project accounting? So project accounting helps us to focus on a particular project, handle all the costs and revenue related to that particular project. Businesses use this method to integrate key financial tasks on a project by project basis and report their progress and the profitability to the management. Since this focuses only on the project, we will be able to understand how beneficial is the project, and we will be able to track the progress of the project at any point of time. Now, if you are into any service related business, or if you take up projects from the customers and invoice them using the project, then you can use the time tracking module available in Zoho Books. So this module is available by default. In order to enable the time tracking module, just go to settings. Under preferences general, you will find an option to enable the time tracking module. Once you save this, the time tracking module gets enabled for your organization, wherein you will be able to create your projects and record your timesheets. If you would like to create a project in Zoho Books, just click on New Project, wherein you will be able to enter the project name, the project code if there is any, and the relevant customer to whom you will be creating this project. Also, you can select the project currency. The approval part here will be dealing it on a later stage of the webinar. And also, the next important step is to choose a billing method. So we have 4 different types of billing methods for the project. First one is the fixed cost project. So let me tell you what a fixed cost project is. A fixed cost project is the one where the total project cost is prefixed and given at the time of creation of the project itself. So the total revenue and the expenditure would be, the analysis would be done by us, and we would be giving the total project cost at the beginning of the project itself. You can also set up a budget. So we will delve into the budget a little later. You can select the users who are going to be the part of your project. So who will be listed here is the person who was added as a user in your organization. That is, under settings, users, whichever user has been added in your organization would be listed under the user module. So you can select the relevant users. In case if the person is not added in your Zoho Books organization, you can add them and then you can select them in the project. Next, you can create various tasks. So every project might have different users and different tasks in order to complete the project. So you can you can create the tasks and enter a description if any. You can also choose to import these projects from your project tasks from your existing projects. You might take projects of similar nature for a different customer. So instead of creating these tasks again and again, you can simply import them from an existing project. And if this is an important project wherein you would like to keep an eye on it every time, you can add it to the watch list. So this will display the project in the module in the dashboard of the Zoho Books itself. So then and there you can just get it checked. Once the project is created, a dashboard gets created for a particular project. So in this case of a fixed cost project, you can see the project name, the customer who is associated with it, the billing method, and the total project cost. Now there's also something called unbilled amount and billed amount. So in a fixed cost project, we all know that the amount is already prefixed. The cost of the project is prefixed. So if you have invoiced this particular value to your customer, it comes as billed amount, and if it is yet to be invoiced, it comes as unbilled amount. You can also track all the expenses relevant to this project, and if you have logged any hours in order to achieve this project, you can also view them here. The next type of billing method is the staff uses. So based on your staff hours, you will be able to allocate the project. That means you have various users who are added to this project, right? So the number of hours invested by this user will be used to bill the customer. So here, when you create a project, the basic details remains the same. The billing method will be based on staff hours, and against the user, two more columns get added. One is the cost per hour and the other one is the rate per hour. Cost per hour means the amount of cost you are investing on this user in this particular project, and rate per hour means the amount you will be collecting from your customer. And again, the remaining part of the project remains the same. So here the dashboard looks a little different than that of a fixed cost project. So here you will be able to find the logged hours, billable hours, billed hours, and the unbilled hours. Logged hours means the number of hours you have totally spent on this project. Billable, out of the logged hours, how many hours are billable will be displayed here, and which is already billed to your customers will be displayed, and number of unbilled hours will be displayed here. So these hours are yet to be invoiced to your customer. You can also view the customer approval hours, so we will discuss about it a little later. The next billing method would be based on the task hours. So here, instead of staff, we have various tasks, right? So the amount invested for each task would be a little different. So in case if you are taking up a construction project, say building of a house or any other building, in those cases there would be various tasks involved there. So preparing of a foundation or raising up the next story, etc., wherein the cost remains individual for each of the tasks performed. In those cases, you can effectively use the task module and give the rate per hour. So here you can mention how much you will be charging for each of the hour invested in the project for this particular task. You can also mark them as billable so that when these hours are logged in, they can be invoiced to the customers. The dashboard of this remained similar to that of the staff hours only. And the final billing method is based on the project hours you have invested. So how many hours you will be working on the project, based on that it would be billed, not based on task or staff, but how many hours you invest in this project. So the rate per hour will be predefined here when you create the project itself. And now we will understand about the budget. So whenever you're creating any project, so in order to track the budget versus actuals, or to understand if the project is within the scope, within your spending or not, you will be allocating a budget. There are two types here. One is your cost budget and your revenue budget. Cost budget is nothing but the amount you are spending for this project. So you can set up a budget for it, and revenue is the expected income from this project. Also, you can set up a budget for the total project hours you have spent, or the task hours which you will be spending for this project, or the staff hours. So based on your billing method, if it is project hours or staff hours or task hours, you can even budget those hours. So this is one kind of a budget which you will be creating within the project. In addition to this, you can also create an account level budget. So now you might wonder, what is the difference between the previous budgeting we discussed and the account level budget? In the account level budget, you will be able to enter individual values for each of these accounts. So you can choose to add your income, expense, asset, liability, and equity accounts, and you can predefine the values for all of these particular accounts. So you can choose to pre-fill them from the previous year actuals, or you can use the autofill option. In the autofill option, you will be able to apply a fixed amount for every period. So the value remains constant for all the periods, or you can give an adjustment amount. So for the first period, you can enter an amount, and based on the first period, you can just add up an adjustment amount to the next months. Or you can select an adjustment percentage. So you can add an adjustment percentage so that the percentage gets added up in every month. So once the account level budget is created, you can check out the budget versus actuals. So before we check out the budget versus actuals, we need to understand how the transactions are created and also how the time entries are logged in. So now let us move on to timesheets. So we understand that there are 3 different billing methods wherein time entries would be included, right? So based on your project hours or staff or task hours, we need to log in the time entries based on which we will be billing out to our customers. So in order to log the time, you can directly go to the particular project and click on log time from here. So here you can choose to log the time individually, enter the number of hours spent for the particular project and the task, and on which date this hours has been spent. Also, you can choose to add the user who has spent the task hours. Or if you have a weekly log which has to be entered, in those cases you can directly go to the timesheet module, click on log time and enter a weekly log. So here all the your user or number of hours you spent in a project, you have it as a log. So instead of going and creating it individually, you can just enter the hours in a weekly basis and choose them to be billable or not. Or if you're just working on the project and you want to log the time, instead of logging the time manually, if you want to start the timer, you can either do it here. You can just click on start timer, so that when you complete the task or the particular project, you can just click on stop and the time entry will be logged. So not every time we would be opening Zoho Books, right? Whenever you're performing a task or whenever you're working on a project. For those users, we have this timer extension in the Chrome. So when you download this, the extension gets displayed here on the top, wherein you can select the project name, the task name and notes, and you can simply start the time. So these entries will be logged in Zoho Books, or you can log time from here directly and view the timesheets as well. Now that we have recorded all the time entries which we have worked on the project, next is to get the approval. So as your business scales up, you might have a project person, a project manager who oversees the entire project, and there could be a number of users who are working on it. So in order to make it an effective transaction to the customer and error free, we can have a maker checker process enabled while creation of the project itself. So here when you create a project, you have 2 different kind of approvals. One is your customer approval and the other one is your internal approval. So as I discussed earlier, if a project manager is overseeing the project which is done by a number of users, you can create an approval and select the particular project manager or approver. Also, if the client itself would like to oversee how many hours you have worked in the project before you bill them, you can enable the customer approval for the project. So first we will talk about these internal approvals. So once the time entry is logged in, it can be selected for approval. So just click on new approval, select the particular project, enter the approval name. The time sheets which are logged in and are yet to be approved will be displayed in the bottom, wherein you can submit it for approval. So here I have already submitted an entry for approval. So here it says for the particular project there is a time logged in and it is pending for approval. Once the approver logs in, they would be notified and they can either choose to approve the transaction or reject the transaction. So once the internal approval is cleared, they can be invoiced to the customer. Similarly, whenever the time entries have to be approved by the customer itself, you can create customer approvals. So to enable customer approval, just go to the particular project, and when you're creating the project itself, below the customer name, you have this option called enable customer approval for the time entries of this project. You can just check this option and the customer approval will be enabled. Now, if you would like to submit the logged time entries for the customer approval, just click on New Customer Approval and select the customer. Now, the time entries which are yet to be invoiced to the customer, which are pending to be approved, will get displayed here. You can enter the approval name. You can select any required project and just click on Save and Submit. Now this approval entry will be submitted to the particular customer. One point to be noted down here is whichever customer has the customer portal enabled for them will be able to approve these time entries. So which for the customers to whom which you have enabled the customer portal, they will be able to approve the time entries. Again, to give a heads up on customer portal, it is a collaborative portal which you will be enabling for the customers. I'll show you how. So once you go to the particular contact, you have a more drop down and there is a configure customer portal option. So you can configure the customer portal wherein the customer login would be created for them individually. A portal gets created individually wherein they can view all the transactions which you have raised, the statements, etc. So here this is how the customer portal looks like, wherein they will get an overview of what are the transactions you have created for them so far and what are the businesses you have handled. So now we saw that we submitted a time entry, right? So here you can see it is pending for approval. Just click on this and you can select the particular project and click it as approve. So once approved, we would be notified in our organization. So under notifications, you will be able to see the customer has approved the bill, approved the logged hours. So from here we will be directly able to invoice the details to the customer. And whichever customer has viewed the timesheet and not yet approved it, an icon would just appear here so that you might understand that customer has viewed it but they have not approved it. In case of any changes to be done, the customer can simply add a comment here if they need a revised time or any communication to be conveyed to you. They can simply add it as a comment. So this will get instantly reflected in your Zoho Books organization and it can be reviewed then and there and submitted for approval again. So this enhances the communication gap which we generally have with our customers. Normally we communicate via emails or any other mode, right? So instead of following it up there, we can simply update it here via these comments. So this enhances effective communication with your customer, thereby closing the deal then and there. So now all the time entries are approved and next thing is to create the transaction for the project. So for any project, you can directly create the transaction from the project itself. So here we have an option called new transaction. When we click on it, you can choose to create any sales or purchase transactions from here. So when you create any transaction, the project gets automatically associated with the project. Suppose you have created the invoice manually and now if you would like to associate the project from here, you can do that as well. So simply select the customer and below here all the unbilled expenses and unbilled projects would be displayed. You can choose to add them, or for a fixed cost project, you can simply type the item name, click on these three dots and click on show additional information. Here you can select the required project which has to be associated for this particular invoice, or you can choose to add the unbilled projects from here directly. So this is in case of invoices. In case of your purchase transactions, be it an expense or a bill, you need to associate the customer. So whenever you're creating any expense, it asks for the basic details like your expense account and the vendor details. In addition to this, you will have to select the customer to associate the project. So once you select the customer, it will ask if this project value would be billable. You can just select the project, and if you want to mark it up by a certain percentage, you can mark it up as well. In case of bills, when you create a new bill, in the item detail table, you would find select customer details. Since we are creating project specific for each customer, the customer details have to be associated in order to associate the project to this particular bill. You can choose it as billable or non-billable. select the particular project name and mark it up by any percentage you require. So whatever entries we have created for the particular project, like say the sales entries or purchase entries, will get displayed here under sales and purchases, and whatever timesheets we have logged in for the project will also be available in the timesheet. So for every project an overview is created and the dashboard is created individually. So now that we have understood the basis on how we create a project, let us understand about how to customize the project. Now we have certain fields, right, wherein you enter the billing method, rate per hour, description, etc. In addition to this, if you require any other fields as per your business scenario, you can very well create them. Just go to settings, under preferences and projects, you will find the field customization. So you can create custom fields wherein if you would like to add any new fields in addition to the required ones. And custom buttons help you to perform any specific action which is not available by default. And if you wish to fetch any data relevant to the project from within Zoho Books or outside Zoho Books, you can use related list. For custom button and related list, a piece of Delete script has to be written. So if you would like to add any functionalities or have any custom buttons or related list, please do revert to us. We will be there to help you out. Also, one more point I would like to add here is we have logged in time entries for different projects, correct? So the time entries, you can see that it is logged in hours and minutes. So whenever you're trying to invoice the particular entry, just click on it and click on create invoice. Now the quantity of the created invoice is a little different. So for this particular project, we had logged in 9 hours and 30 minutes. So when you convert it to an invoice, the quantity might be a little different and it would come in decimal because this 30 minutes will also be converted into hours. So it will be 30 divided by 60 and the decimal points would be added against the 9. So now we understood how to create all the projects. Now let us see how to compare your budget versus actuals. So we created our budget when we created the project itself, right? After we created the transactions, you can view the budget versus actuals to check if your project is within the budget or not. So for individual accounts, we had given the entries. Here we can check that our budget for the particular account of job casting, the budget is 14,400, whereas it is over budget. So it has increased and it is over the budget. The actual is 0 and it is over the budget. So we have not yet spent any money on the job costing, so it is 100% effective. Whereas if you have crossed the particular budget, it will be shown as under budget. Based on the transactions you have created, the project profitability gets determined in the dashboard of the particular project. You can simply click on it to view the profit and loss report, which is customized according to the particular project. So this particular profit and loss report will be customized for this project and you can understand what is the profit or loss for the current period. So we have completed the first part of our webinar wherein we understood about setting up of projects in Zoho Books. How do we handle the multiple billing methods, how to handle the project budgeting or the timesheets. So we discussed 4 billing methods. One is the fixed cost, and then based on project hours, the task hours and the staff hours. Next, we also spoke about the different types of project budgets. So the one type is when you create the project itself. So you can budget the project hours you have spent it, or the hours per staff and the hours per task. Next is you can create an account level budget itself wherein you can specify the value for each account and see if the project is well within control or not. The other functions in the project module include how to import your task, or you can create a custom buttons or custom and how to make the module as billable or non-billable. Next up, we discussed about the time tracking module in Zoho Books, how to log in your timesheet entries and how you can directly log the time from your projects or from the timesheet module. Also, you could choose to create the transactions, and we also discussed about the Chrome extension wherein you can log time as and when you need, and also you can create the transactions from the existing projects. We also discussed about the timesheet approvals wherein we will be able to set up an internal approval to get it approved by a project manager or from the customer directly via the customer portal. Next, let us understand about the Zoho project integration. So to give you a heads up about Zoho Projects is a complete project management application which is available in Zoho, wherein you will be able to manage your task, track their progress, and also handle them effectively. So if you integrate Zoho Books and Zoho Projects, the project handling would be done in Zoho Projects, whereas the accounting related entries would be handled in Zoho Books. So let me show you how to integrate Zoho Books and Zoho Projects. All you have to do is click on the settings icon. Under integrations and marketplace, you will find Zoho apps. Click on it and click connect again Zoho Projects. Now hit connect again, and the portal, that is the email ID with which you have logged in, would be displayed. You can choose to select the projects and timesheet, and also you can choose to import them as unbilled or billed. You can choose to import the customers as overwrite or clone, and you can restrict the creation of projects in Zoho Books completely. Now all the default fields which are available gets mapped, and any custom fields required can also be mapped. Now the integration is configured. This is a one-way integration wherein the data from Zoho Projects get synced to Zoho Books. In case of any errors, you can view the project sync history. Click on total errors and you will be able to understand why the particular task or a project is not getting integrated. So let me quickly show it to you in the product. Just go to settings. Under integrations and marketplace, click on Zoho apps. You will find Zoho Projects. Since it is already integrated, the integration is active, and hit on show details. Now whatever projects have been integrated will be available here under show sync history. So here you can view the date and time on which the particular project, task or timesheet has been synced. And in case of any errors, just click on it. So here we have two errors wherein the error detail says this project could not be synced because it is not associated with a primary client. So one more point to be noted is you will have to be an admin in both Zoho Books and Zoho Projects in order to enable this integration. Also, whichever project is associated with a primary client can only be synced into Zoho Books. Now you might wonder what primary clients are, right? So primary clients are the a client user whom you create in Zoho Projects. So whenever you create a project in Zoho Project, it will not ask you to associate a client user by default. But whenever you create a client user, you can associate them to the project. The client user would be selected as primary client by default, or if you have multiple client users, you can choose one of them as your primary client. Only when a primary client is associated to a project created in Zoho Projects, it will get synced successfully into Zoho Books. Otherwise, it will be rejected. In order to bifurcate the projects which are synced from Zoho Projects and Zoho Books, we have a small bifurcation which is nothing but the Zoho Project symbol being displayed. So these 5 projects are created in Zoho Books manually, whereas the design and the employee onboarding projects are created from Zoho Project. The other details and other functionalities remain similar to that of the projects which are created in Zoho Books itself. And one more thing is you can choose to attach any document relevant to this project. Also, you can create a task. So in order to do an efficient follow-up, you can create task within the project, assign it to a particular user and notify them via email as well. You can choose the priority and enter a due date within which this particular task has to be completed. You can assign it to any user, you can notify them via email, and you can set a reminder as well. Now the task has been created and it is yet to be started. You can choose to change the status, or you can mark the percentage up to which it is completed, so that you will also understand what is the progress of this task and if it is being followed up or not. And you can also choose to start an internal communication channel within this particular project. Now let's assume that you have multiple users who are working in this project and the project manager would like to communicate a common point to them. Now instead of contacting everyone manually, they can choose to create a contextual chat revolving around this particular project. Here in this case, you must have integrated your Zoho Books organization with Zoho Click. Then you can create a new chat, add all the project users who are involved in this project, create a chat, and communication is done then and there. So we understood how Zoho project integration works with Zoho Books. The ultimate aim of any of this is to understand if the project is profitable or not, or if the logged in time entries are being billed or not. So in order to do that, we have various reports available in Zoho Books. So in the reports module, under projects and timesheet, you will be able to find the set of reports which are relevant to this particular project. So the timesheet details and the timesheet profitability summary explains about what the timesheet looks like and what is the profit which you have earned from the particular logged in time entries. Whereas the other reports give us details on the total project as a whole. Project summary gives us an information about the number of logged hours, the number of the amount you have collected, the number of billable and the unbillable hours. Whereas the project details report gives us the entire overview about a particular project. Here we will have to select the customer, the project, and you can choose to report it by either task, staff or both. Here the complete details of the project along with the billed and unbilled hours and the amount collected will be displayed here. Next we have the project cost summary. Project cost summary is nothing but the out-of-pocket expense or the investments you make to this particular project. It can either be the cost from transactions or the cost from timesheet, also the budgeted amount. So you can verify that if your budget is if your spending is within the budget or if it has exceeded the budget. Next we have the project revenue summary. So revenue means the amount of profits which you have reaped from the project. You can check out what is the revenue you have earned out of the project individually. Next we have project performance summary, which is a combination of both project cost summary and project revenue summary. Here you will understand what is the actual cost, what is the difference in cost, and also the revenue which you have earned. So this report completely helps us to understand if the project is profitable or not and what is the profit margin. So with this we come to the end of the webinar. So to give you a quick recap, we understood about project accounting in the beginning, and then we spoke about what are the benefits of project accounting. Next we understood about the time tracking module which is available in Zoho Books, how you can create a project and the 4 different billing methods: the fixed cost, by project hours, staff hours or task hours, and how the dashboard remains a little different from each other. Then we understood how you can create budgets and compare the budget versus actuals, log in time entries and get it approved either internally or by the customer directly using the customer portal. And then we understood about how you can invoice these timesheets to your customer, associate the projects to your purchases or sales transactions manually. Finally, we understood about one more important integration of Zoho projects and Zoho Books, wherein all the projects created in Zoho projects get synced into Zoho Books and the accounting entry can be handled from here. Finally, we discussed about the various reports which are available for the projects and timesheet, which will help us understand the progress of the project and also determine the profitability of the project. So with this, we come to the end of the webinar. I hope this webinar was useful to you, and if you have any questions, please post it in the questions window and we shall be taking it up shortly. So we have a question: can the timesheet be integrated with Zoho People and captured in books from People? Yes. So just like how we integrate Zoho projects with Zoho Books, we have the Zoho People integration as well. So if you go to the settings and Zoho apps, you will find Zoho People. You can choose to integrate the log entry and choose to push the log entries manually and set up the contact preferences as well. And you can then invoice the customers based on the time entries you are logging in. So we have another question. In the project entry screen, it shows a field project below the description. What is this? I had created a reporting tag called projects. So to answer your question, the possibility is it could be a custom field which you have created. So just go to settings, under projects and timesheets, you will be under preferences projects, you will be able to find field customization. So just check if you have created any custom fields there. It could be a possibility that the custom field is being displayed since the reporting tag options are not available. Next, I have created a drop down box in the banking module like SO, bill, project name, etc. So will this automatically reflect in the project? So as I discussed earlier, let me show it to you. Only when you associate the project in the invoice creation page, the project will get associated, be it an invoice or bill or anything. So just click here, click on show additional information. Just select the relevant customer, and when you click on show additional information, the project which are associated with the customer will be displayed, and then you can choose to select the particular project. Only then it will get associated. I believe we have added some custom fields, so those custom field data will not get mapped to the projects. Next up, I have added a project total fixed cost in USD, but for the expense tagged under the same project, the amount is showing in INR. Is there any solution for that? So I believe that you have created a project for a customer whose base currency is USD. Now, whenever you are trying to create any expense, please make sure to select the same currency. Let me show you. So here I have created a project for a customer, and the customer's currency is USD, and the project is also created in USD. Now, when I try to create an expense associating the particular project, you need to ensure that the same currency is being associated. So here you can just give the expense account, the amount. So here the USD currency has to be selected. And when you associate the particular customer, you can choose it as billable and select the required project. And if you want to mark it by a percentage, just save this. Now this expense has been recorded under the particular project. When I go to the project, under purchases, I will be able to see it as $10. So previously I had created an entry in INR, and hence it is showing it as INR. So for the same project I have created an expense, but I have selected the INR currency here instead of USD here. So when I change it to USD, it will get updated. Next up, what is time tracking in Zoho Books? Is this integrated with Zoho projects? So Zoho Books comes in with an inbuilt time tracking module, even though if you have integrated with Zoho projects or not. So this module is available by default in Zoho Books. You can create the projects here, but if you want a complete project management application altogether, you can choose Zoho projects. So whatever projects you have created in Zoho projects will get synced in the time tracking module only. So next up we have another question. Can project information be referred in reports? Yes, we do have an individual set of reports for the project and time tracking module. Let me show you. So when you go to the reports module in Zoho Books, under the report category, choose projects and timesheet. So here the various timesheet details and the project summary and the profitability or the revenue summary will be, you can refer it here. So this will give you more details on the progress and the profitability of the project. So I hope we have answered most of your queries. If you have any further clarifications, please feel free to reach us out at support.india@zohobooks.com, or you can reach us out on a toll-free number. We have a multilingual toll-free line wherein we offer you assistance in English, Hindi, Tamil, Telugu, Malayalam and Kannada. So please feel free to reach us out in the required line. Thank you so much for being patient with me for the past 1 hour. I hope this webinar was useful, and I hope to meet you all again in another webinar. Thank you so much.